Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Geeky Blinders podcast. Today we're lucky enough to be joined by the actor Colin O'Donoghue, you can see on the current Disney Plus series The White Stuff. In this episode we talk about his top 10 films and his love of anti-heroes and movie franchises.
Don't forget to stay tuned to the end to find out the winner of our giveaway competition.
Do you want to get started then?
Yeah. Well, if you want, we'll start at what it was at the top of your list, but obviously not necessarily your number one. And it was the Goonies.
Yeah.
Which is a classic to start with,
yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I mean, that would be up there. I'd say probably in my top 3 or 4. And we watched it again with the kids for the first time. My kids are like 7 and 3, and so we put it on during the lockdown. And I hadn't seen it for a few years, you know, and I went straight back to being 12 years old. You know. It's just such a great movie. It's like a perfect film. I don't think there's any flaws in that film at all.
How did your kids find it? Because obviously it's quite an older film now. Did they still enjoy it?
Like and we're kind of like pretty, you know, we tend not to. We sort of keep everything to the age, you know what I mean, age appropriate for them, just as much as we can. Even with like some, I know it might sound a little bit, but with some PG movies and stuff like that. Like there's sometimes the stuff in it that mightn't be great for like, you know, even a 7-year-old or whatever, but they loved it. My son absolutely loved it, and my daughter loved it too. She's only 3 though, so a lot of it went way over her head, but they loved it. Like they sat through it all, and it's, you know, a long enough movie for kids that age to sit through. And it's also, it's like things are different nowadays, because you know, I was talking to a friend of mine about movies that we would have watched growing up in the 80s and 90s, whatever. If you look at them now compared to like all these Marvel movies and stuff that are so like, there's literally action every second. Something big happens every 2 or 3 minutes. There's like stuff like the Goonies. It's like a slow burn. You know what I mean? And which I love about, which is what I love about all those movies, is that there's more time to tell the story as opposed to just get into action sequences and whatever. Don't get me wrong, like I like all those Marvel movies and DC movies, whatever, you know, but I just think it's so different now. Yeah, definitely,
especially like you say, for kids that age, trying to keep their attention for films like that. I feel even mine are 13 and trying to keep their attention when they've got, especially now because they're at an age where they've got their phones as well. It's difficult with films like the Goonies and Back to the Future and stuff. They tend to like wean in and out of it a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's stuff that I used to love, because I was thinking of doing special effects at university, model making special effects, and I used to love all that. But when we were teenagers, there used to be like one sequence that you couldn't wait to see. You were like, how are they going to do this? This is going to be amazing. And then I think it was probably after the Phantom Menace maybe, or something like that, where they realized that like the entire movie could just be giant visual effect. Then it started to kill the storytelling a little bit. I thought.
How did your kids react to the scene with Sloth? Because obviously it's a PG film, but that scene is quite ready before you see him and stuff. It's quite tense.
Yeah. It was. They definitely jumped and screamed. You know? But what's good about that is, because I remember feeling the same way when I watched it when I was a kid, and I think what was good about it is that it's diffused straight away. Like you see this. I mean, essentially like a creature or whatever, and you're terrified. You go, oh my God, he's scary. And then he offers them like a candy bar, and then they're the best of friends, you know? So, there was a definite moment where they jumped.
Yeah. Great movie.
Your next one is very different from the Goonies. 12 Angry Men.
Yeah. I remember seeing it as a teenager. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it or whatever. You know, it's obviously quite an old film with Henry Fonda and stuff. But what I love about that, I watched it. We had it's a weird one. We had a religion class in secondary school, and our teacher at the time didn't really want to teach religion at all, so he just put movies on for us every week. A different movie. And so 12 Angry Men was one of them, and I was beginning to get into like drama and acting and all that kind of stuff around that age when I saw it, and I couldn't believe you know, I was also at an age where, like, black and white films, why would I watch a black and white film? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was amazed that, like, it literally takes place in one room.
Yeah.
That's it for the entire movie. And I couldn't get over that, probably because I was so used to watching, like, Star Wars or Indiana Jones and all these kind of movies.
Yeah.
And I was just taken by it and the performances in it and stuff like that. I couldn't believe that you could watch a movie that only took place in one room and be captivated.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's so tense, it grips you, like, from start to finish. We both watched it recently because it was on yours and Andy's list, and like I said on the last one, I felt bad for not watching it sooner because it is so good.
It's really, really good. And they did a remake of it in the 90s. I think it was the 90s, late night, with Jack Lemmon, and it's equally brilliant. But I think that's the testament to the writing of the actual movie. It was, I think, it was written as a radio play originally,
right,
and then as a stage play. And so that's, you know, when it comes to, like, theater plays and radio plays and stuff like that, it has to be, the story drives the entire thing, you know. So, and I think you can tell that in the way the movie's written.
Yeah. One of the things that after I watched it, obviously I was reading about it, like, on the trivia and stuff. One of the things I failed to take into account is because of the time it was in as well. Obviously the acting is amazing in it, but all these people, because of the time, it was just after, like, World War II as well. So all these people have been to World War II and stuff and gone through all that. So it makes their acting much more tense and, like, the proper blokes who are just angry and stuff like that. And it's just, it comes across really well. It's just such an amazing film, definitely.
And what's great about it is that I think it's fairly representative of a society, you know what I mean? Like, everybody, class, everything about it were sort of represented in for that time period. And it's not just cut and dry. They don't just all go, no, he's guilty, he's not guilty. Do you know what I mean? It's you really get into the discussion behind the reasons, and you see people's prejudices and all that kind of stuff come out, even though they don't necessarily believe that they are prejudiced, you know?
It was quite, like, really ahead of its time, wasn't it? Like, it was 1957, I think. And, like, I was quite surprised how many themes were in it that were still relevant now, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's only just missing Sloth turning around. Just a little jump, a little fight at some point.
During number 12, turns around the Sloth.
Your next one, you've actually, you picked a Star Wars one. You actually nailed it down to one, Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Why is this one not any of the others?
I quite like I mean, I know everybody talks about this as being slightly probably the darkest one and all that kind of stuff, and I just think probably the storytelling in that one sort of episode of the whatever, I don't even know what you call them, it's not a trilogy, but whatever it is,
saga,
I guess. I just think it's the best storytelling of them all, you know what I mean? Because it sort of takes you, it's less about, like, a final battle or, you know what I mean? It sort of you delve into slightly darker themes, I think, in it. And I mean, that was it. It was a difficult one. Well, maybe not that difficult, like I was saying just before we started. I don't know if you were recording at that point, but like, when I was a teenager, I would have found it harder for definite to pick a single one. But now as a grown up, I think it just appeals more to me. I just love it. You know, I love the bleakness of it. I think probably most, like, even Hoth and stuff like that. You know, the fact that it's like an ice planet and there's nothing around, and I just love all that. You know,
it's very different to the other two, definitely.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the new three?
I mean, it's complicated because, you know, I feel like I'm watching it back with. I've just got my coffee on. I'm watching. Yeah, that's what happened there. My shoes fell on top of my coffee, but they didn't get any coffee on them. Don't worry. Like, I'm watching them back with just thinking that the original three were just the be all and end all. I mean, like, as a teenage, like in my early teens, I would have definitely said Star Wars was one of my favorite movies of all time. You know what I mean? And like, I think for many people my age, it's just that they were the pinnacle. They were the best movies ever made. You know what I mean? When we were teenagers growing up, and so watching them back, there's some of them I really like. It's similar to that. It's just like this action all the time, and I think sometimes the storytelling gets lost a little bit. But you know, I really like The Mandalorian.
That's my next
For that
question.
reason is because you've got time.
Yeah.
You know, in particular, I really loved the second season because you got time to be able to tell the story and flesh it out a little bit. Whereas, like, you know, you're trying to cram stuff in to, well, I mean, most movies nowadays are over 2 hours, aren't they? 2 hours and whatever, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, there's so much happening that you have to try and cram in.
Yeah. I think this is the best thing about the streaming services, like you're in Disney Plus series, like The Right Stuff. I think the fact that they're now, rather than cram it into one film, they can do 8 hours, but just spread it out. It just makes it so much better, like the storyline and everything else you can chuck into it without smashing it in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one thing. Now, so I don't want to segue off into talking about the show but the show I'm in, The Right Stuff. There was a movie in the 80s that was, I think it's 3 hours long, and even at that, that's a full book condensed into 3 hours.
Yeah,
you know, that's a full period of NASA history, whatever, nearly 10 years of history crammed into 3 hours of a movie. And it's, you know, we were lucky that we had that space to be able to flesh out, you know, the relationships between the characters and the families and all that kind of stuff. So I do think that's, and also the quality of stuff being made now for streaming is, but I mean, it's movie quality. It's
the budget.
It's up there with it. You know what I mean? Like, you look at The Mandalorian, and it's, the quality of that is as good as any of the Star Wars movies.
Definitely.
And I think probably, like, even 10 years ago, you know, the difference between TV and what was visual effects, all that kind of stuff, it was so different than it is now, you know.
Yeah,
definitely.
When we were growing up, we were quite into Star Wars. Especially our dad pushed it on us quite a lot, which was good in the end because we did enjoy it. But we always sort of, like, we were Darth Vader fans. We always saw ourselves as the dark side. You said you like the bleakness of Empire Strikes Back. Does that mean you were more to the dark side than the light? I
would say I was more on the Han Solo side, whereas in the middle, you know what I mean?
The anti-hero.
So
that's a good answer.
Yeah, the anti-hero probably more than Luke Skywalker, but probably Han Solo. I'm a little bit more closer to I wanted to be more with the Rebels just because I knew they would win at some point, but, you know, I'll always go for the winning team.
It's a good tactic.
What did you think of the Solo movie?
I thought it was really good. That's another difficult one because, I mean, like, you know, you're taking over. Like, I know the pressure of, you know, I took over playing Captain Hook on a TV show, and I took over playing, you know, from Dennis Quaid played Gora Cooper in the movie, and that was like his breakout role. That was, everybody loved his character in the movie, and so there's a huge amount of pressure there on that, and especially with somebody like Harrison Ford, you know, and Han Solo being one of the most iconic, as you say, anti-heroes in movie history. You know, it's a very difficult thing to try to do. So I thought it was good. Yeah, I kind of felt a little bit like they were you know, with the newer versions of the movies and stuff, they were kind of only really finding their feet a little bit. Whereas I think with, like, The Mandalorian, they've found it now, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You can see the difference.
Your next one.
What did you guys like it?
Oh yeah,
love Mandalorian so much. Yeah, it's one of my favorite Star Wars things. It's so good.
No, but
I can't think of anything bad.
The Solo movie.
Oh, the Solo movie. Sorry.
Yeah, I quite liked it. Yeah, I thought it was it's the way they took it was like a bit of a different direction than the previous Star Wars movies and stuff. And I did enjoy it. I was hoping to see Darth Maul, and when I saw him just at the end, that was a bit of a teaser. But I was hoping to see him in the film somehow.
Yeah, as a standalone, I liked it.
Yeah.
You've kind of got to separate them from the trilogies a little bit, haven't you? They're not going to be exactly the same. You don't really want them to be the same, otherwise, what's the point? You're just watching the same film again. And I think it did that nicely. It was just a nice little difference.
Yeah. I think Rogue One might have been my favorite standalone one. I think Rogue One, that was a bleak one. That was a very bleak one, but I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, I liked it too. I think, you see, part of it too is what was good about that was that it didn't really take the characters that you grew up with and use them. It sort of went completely different, which is what I liked about it. And it's like, you know, that's the thing about the Han Solo movie, is it's very difficult sort of to do that with, I mean, arguably the most iconic character in the whole franchise, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So But you know, they did a good job of it.
Definitely, yeah. Your next pick is another saga, and you couldn't pin it down to one this time, which is the Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah.
Is it literally all of them then?
I mean,
are there any that don't stand up, or?
I would say that the fourth one was my least favorite. The
Right.
Crystal
Kingdom
Skull.
of Crystal Skull was probably my least favorite. Yeah. I mean, it's a funny one because I know most people go for Raiders of the Lost Ark or whatever, which I loved. But the main one that stands out for me probably is Temple of Doom, because that's sort of the one that I remember seeing most as a kid growing up. Like at Christmas time, it was always on.
Yeah.
You know, on like ITV or whatever. And I just remember, and it was really, really freaky and all that kind of stuff. So maybe that, although I did like The Last Crusade as well. It's really tough because they're so good. They're all so good.
Yeah, definitely. A Temple of Doom. I remember being quite young when I first watched it. It was one of the first films that, although it was, like you say, it was age appropriate for me, but there were still some things in it that were, I hadn't seen stuff like that before. It's quite sort of like dark themes for what's like essentially a children's film.
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, they're like kind of, I think certainly the first three are nearly like a perfect trilogy. You know what I mean? Like a perfect full stop at the end. I would have thought. Although like I love Harrison Ford and I love seeing him, as you know, I couldn't wait to see the fourth one when they announced it. But I think the first three for definite are unbelievable. I mean, who doesn't want to be Indiana Jones?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Harrison Ford knows how to do an iconic character, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's incredible. But I'd say probably Temple of Doom. Just, you know, it just was sort of, but it was really scary. Like I remember as a kid watching it, it was really scary because all the kids were, you know, sort of kidnapped and they were slaves and stuff. I just remember it was so scary, you know, and eating monkey brains, and I mean, it's all the stuff that freaks you out as a kid, but all the stuff that you would have talked about to him, you know what I mean? Like, like eating brains and whatever.
Definitely. Even Raiders of the Lost Ark at the end with the Nazis and their faces are melting. It's just like, as a kid, it's something that will stick with you forever, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not so sure that I don't know if they'd be PG nowadays if they came out now. I don't know if they would be or not.
Yeah, true, yeah.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you is, obviously, as an actor, when you watch films, do you find yourself like analysing things, like knowing how they did that or thinking they could have done something different? Or can you just sit there and enjoy it for what it is?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, sometimes I'll sort of analyze it and go, oh yeah, they were on wires in that bit, or they were being hoisted up, and you know, or sometimes if I'm out of something, because we used to use once upon a time we used to use quite a lot of, like, we'd all be flying and at some point thrown across the room, whatever, and you know, they have to cut out a little hole at the back of the costume and make sure that when they pull you up, it doesn't tent, what they call tent. So you can't see it, and then so I'm kind of sometimes looking out for stuff like that. You know, I find in general that's mostly with movies that have like a ton of special effects. I'm kind of looking to see, you know, how they did it or whatever. But I can sit down. Of course, I can sit down and watch a movie. Like I think any good movie, if it's a good story and it's written well, I think you forget all that stuff and you just sort of you get engrossed in it, you know?
Yeah, you get sucked in, don't you? Yeah.
Your next film has been on every list so far. Every buddy we've interviewed, this film has been on every single one. Yeah. So Back to the Future. You put Back to the Future 2, but it could be any of them.
Yeah. Could be any of them. It could be. That was another tough one, and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to pick one out of at least any of the trilogy or whatever the saga movies that I pick. And I only picked Back to the Future 2 because, again, that's the one that is most clear in my mind. You know, I remember being like the perfect age when that came out to watch it. But I love like the first one is a gem as well. And actually, I watched Back to the Future 3 over Christmas. It was on TV, and I'd forgotten how much I actually loved that that movie, you know, it's almost like the forgotten one of the three of them. But
Yeah.
it's actually it's brilliant. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, Back to the Future too. I mean, who didn't want a hoverboard and all that kind of stuff? And
Yeah.
exactly,
you know, as a kid. So yeah, no, I love it, and I actually got some Back to the Future action figures recently from my sort of little room that I have here. But
nothing wrong with that.
yeah, like Michael J. Fox is just unbelievable in those movies. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Are you a bit of a memorabilia collector then? Obviously, I would say we are as well, as you can see. But do you have like a little memorabilia stash of just like Star Wars and stuff?
I do. I've got my Ghostbuster figures and got all that kind of stuff. And I have a few props and stuff from a few of the movies shows that I've done.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have them all out in the shed. You know, I was a sucker for all that stuff when I was, you know, a teenager and all. Anything if it said limited edition on it, I was like, I have to have it. Have to get it. Yeah. You know, like a limited edition. It could be anything, like, you know. But yeah, no, I have all those things. I've found myself, especially during lockdown, beginning to sort of look at things and go, oh, I wouldn't mind having those. I wouldn't mind having those. I'm currently expecting a couple of gremlins to be delivered. So
your next one, very different to Back to the Future. Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Another classic.
Yeah. I mean, a few years ago, that would have been. I would have said that was my probably favorite.
Yeah.
But it's a real toss-up now. I just really love 12 Angry Men. But I mean, I think The Shawshank Redemption is one of those just perfect films. Everything about it, you know, the performances, the story, it's epic. You know, I could watch that film all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
and you can put it on any time as well.
So I can't afford. Yeah. Watching it now, I can't really afford 3 hours out of my life to watch a movie. I wish. But yeah, no, like Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman are just unbelievable in that.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Clancy
Brown.
Clancy Brown. Yeah. I mean, absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just, I remember reading the story. I think it was a short story. I can't remember if it was a short story, wasn't it? Stephen King.
So.
And I just, as soon as I saw the movie, I went and read the story, and it's just incredible.
Yeah.
It's one of those rare ones where I think the movie is as good as the book, if not maybe even slightly better, you know. But yeah, it was incredible. I mean, there's definitely a couple of Stephen King inspired movies that that were nearly in the top 10, you know, like I don't know did I put The Shining down on, is it in the top 10?
No,
that's
not in your top 10 now.
Yeah, you see, The Shining is one as well, and Misery is another one.
Misery, yeah,
I love
you know. So but I think The Shawshank Redemption is probably my favorite.
The Green Mile as well.
Out of any of those. Green Mile's another one. Yeah, Jesus. Oh, I feel so bad. How to pick your top 10 is such a difficult thing to do, you know.
The Shawshank Redemption as well. It's the highest rated film on IMDb as well, isn't it? It's the number one film on IMDb.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think I think when it came out, it wasn't like a commercial.
No, yeah.
Hit. You know, I think it became like more of a cult classic, but it wasn't. From what I remember, or from what I've read about it, it wasn't a massive standout hit.
No.
You know.
Yeah, I think so. Same with 12 Angry Men, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You had a couple of sort of darker films on your list, because a lot of them are like, you know, the Goonies and Indiana Jones are quite sort of like child friendly and cheerful to an extent. And then you had the Shawshank Redemption, and then The Crow, which drops it down to another level.
Yeah. I watched. That's another movie I watched again recently. I remember when I was like 15, dressing up as the Crow for Halloween and stuff. I was obsessed with that movie. I really wanted to be Eric Draven. not dead, of course, but I wanted to read it. And I was obsessed with the comic as well, the J. O'Barr comic of it. But I was kind of just it sort of really hit with me. Like, I love the guitar, play the guitar, and but I was really kind of quiet and sort of slight little bit at that point, and it just sort of seemed to cap a tiny little he got in me. Not that I was into music or anything, but it was that was sort of the thing that resonated with me, and I guess even just the mystique behind the whole movie and how it was finished, and the fact that and it was sort of just I was obsessed with it. I had the posters up and the soundtrack. I mean, I still think it's one of the best soundtracks around. And I loved it. And I was big into like Batman at that point as well. But Batman and Batman Returns, which were slightly more gothic, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, very similar to The Crow, isn't it? Like the Batman Returns, sort of the feel of the film. Not quite as dark.
Tim Burton style sort of thing.
Yeah. And I was lucky enough to on Once Upon a Time, I got to work with Ernie Hudson, who plays the cop, and obviously he was in Ghostbusters. So I was like, they were two of my favorite movies. I couldn't believe it. So it was great to sit down and sort of hear his stories about working on both movies.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You said you liked the Crow comic, but were you a general comic book fan, or was it just like the Crow because of the film sort of thing you got into it?
I was kind of a general, not in the sense of like I didn't get like a Marvel comic every week or once a month or whatever, but I used to love going to Forbidden Planet when there was one in Dublin. I don't know if there still is one, and it was like a big event. And similar to that, like I'd see all these like alien face huggers that I'd wish that I had like 200 euro to buy or whatever, but I didn't have it. You know what I mean? But I used to always pick up like, I guess, more graphic novels. I really liked the Dark Horse kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also because like graphic novels were such a novelty certainly for us here in Ireland. Like back then in the early to mid 90s, it was such a, because you used to get like Batman comics, I guess, and Marvel comics, Spider-Man or whatever, but you never had stuff that's like really, really dark. And when you're like 15 and 16 and you're listening to grunge music and all that kind of stuff, that's what you want to, and you have your friends down to here. That's the stuff you want to be reading,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Are the you said about Batman Returns, are they your favorite Batman movies? Are you still, even after Dark Knight, are you still sort of more of a Tim Burton fan?
I think Batman Returns is still my favorite. Still my favorite of all the Batman movies, and I really like. I keep saying that. Of course, I rewatched everything because we're on bloody lockdown for a year. But, I watched the Christopher Nolan ones again recently, and which I think are amazing. But I guess it's probably similar to like the Star Wars stuff and everything. You kind of have. You look back so fondly, and it takes you back to a period in your life, you know what I mean? And but I do think, like, I love Michael Keaton as Batman, because I thought that not so much as Batman but as Bruce Wayne, I thought he had an absolute wildness about it. Like, there's a craziness about him in his eyes, you know what I mean? And
definitely,
that was sort of, I think he's definitely my favorite. I mean, like, it's hard because Christian Bale does such an amazing job as well, but there's just something about those movies. I used to love Tim Burton stuff, full stop. Like, I was big into it, and Nightmare Before Christmas, and everything, that world. I just loved Beetlejuice, the whole thing. It was like he just managed to create his own like universe, you know what I mean?
So iconic.
I thought it was incredible.
Also, the villain in Batman Returns as well, Danny DeVito.
I was going to say Danny DeVito is
Oswald Cobblepot is
still one of the best Batman villains.
Definitely.
And I mean, look, let's not shy away from it. Michelle Pfeiffer is
by far the best Catwoman so far.
you know, so that, which is a whole different thing. But even like you've got Christopher Walken in it, and you know, it's just brilliant. I do think like Danny DeVito as the Penguin is, you know, and when he's eating the raw fish, and it's just, I mean, it's just perfect. It's just perfect.
Yeah, he is disgusting.
He's a
in it,
goblin,
but he does it so well. Yeah,
and he's grunting and
exactly. Your next movie is another 80s one, a bit more cheerful than Batman Returns. It's Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
another classic.
Absolutely love the both the Ghostbusters movies, the original two, and I was similar to that. Like when I was, I'd say 9 and 10, I used to watch the real Ghostbusters, the cartoon, religiously, and you know, I remember one Christmas morning coming down, and I'd asked Santa for Ghostbusters figures, and there was like nearly all of them were there, and I was just, I still have that, like that's a very vivid memory of probably my best Christmas morning of all time, was coming down and seeing all those action figures and stuff like that. And yeah, I just loved them. You know, I think they're the perfect combination of, you know, comedy and sort of, I guess, I mean, at points they are quite scary, you know what I mean? I think in the 80s, I think they did that really well, like comedy horror, like Gremlins. I don't think I put Gremlins on the list, but Gremlins would be a very close one for that. And it's the exact same thing. It's like, when I was a kid, I thought Gremlins was a horror. I didn't realize that it's actually a comedy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's but yeah, like again, perfect casting all across the board, and in the Ghostbusters, you know. Yeah, and so just perfect, really, really good. You know, I actually I've managed to find the original action figures that I got that Christmas still in I found a few of them still in the box.
Really
so I know I have them. They're probably up in my folks' house, the other ones, but these ones are still in the box or whatever. And
amazing.
I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I don't know what you know what I mean. I don't know what the point is in all that stuff, but yeah, I just love them.
Yeah, exactly.
They're an investment. Yeah.
I think the great thing about Goonies and Ghostbusters and things like that is obviously as a child you love them and stuff like that, but then when you rewatch them as an older, there's more jokes that you didn't even realize as a kid. So you get to watch it again, sort of not for the first time, but you get to see new stuff that you just didn't realize.
Yeah. You know, I think that's something that I guess is, well, I don't know if it's lost or not. You know, I'm watching, obviously the kids movies I'm watching are very different than something that would be aimed at like a 12 or 13-year-old or whatever, but I do think sometimes that's kind of lost, you know what I mean? It's the stuff that like the Simpsons always did really well, where you as an adult could watch it, and you know, like with Ghostbusters, you know, I never realized up until, you know, I was in my late teens that it was like they were all like from Saturday Night Live and stuff, and were these really famous comedians, you know what I mean? And like I just loved Slimer and seeing him eat food, and I wanted to see the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man walking down the road. You know what I mean? And similar to Batman Returns, Sigourney Weaver is, you know what I mean?
She's fantastic in it. Yeah.
So
well, that ties us in nicely to your next one, which was Alien, Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, Alien is just. It's similar to what I was saying about like the special effects and stuff like that. Like you hardly see the alien in that movie, and that's what I think is perfect about it. Is that just that suspense of, you don't know, is it going to pop out now? Is it not going to pop out now? What's going to happen? And it's just an amazing piece of filmmaking just for the suspense. It's, you know, and similar to that, like the H.R. Geiger stuff. I remember being a teenager, like, and just being obsessed with all of his kind of stuff, you know, his paintings, and I do think that's the, you know, that world that was created in certainly in the first Alien is just, I mean, I still think it stands up today. It doesn't look dated at all, you know what I mean? It's not like one of those space movies where like the spaceship, you go, oh, that looks awful now, whatever.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like you see the photographs from the space station, and it's not dissimilar to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And I love the tricks that they use, like, you know, when the chest buster comes out and stuff like that, you know, none of the cast knew that was going to happen. You can see the genuine terror on their faces and stuff, you know. And I remember John Hurt came in and gave a talk when I was in drama school, and that was one of the stories. He said, you know, when they were doing that, they didn't tell anybody exactly what was going to happen, and then you know, when they did it happened, and but people were just terrified, you know. But it's a difficult one, you know. It's a difficult one with that, especially with like a creature suit. I mean, look, the alien suit is it's the perfect kind of creature suit, but sometimes, you know, they can look quite twee or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a man in a suit sort of thing.
Yeah. Whereas this one is just is perfect, you know. So I just love it. I like the first three Aliens, probably, you know what I mean? But I'd say Alien, the first one, is my favorite. It was a toss up between that and Aliens, because Aliens was the one that I, you know, sort of like when we were teenagers and you'd have your mate sleeping over, whatever, you'd watch Aliens and you'd quote like, you know, it's game over, man. You know what I mean? Definitely. We'd all be doing that all night, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot more action in Aliens than there is in Alien.
Yeah, there's a lot more. I mean, I think as a teenager, I think it was probably more because the first one was probably a bit too scary, you know, a bit too scary for me nearly, you know what I mean? Whereas the second one is, once you see like 5 aliens, you sort of go, oh, okay, now we're into the action of it, you know, this, you know, she's going to start blowing their brains out and all that kind of stuff. But
definitely, I think the second one's almost like an action film, isn't it? Whereas the first one's like a suspense sort of thriller, especially like at the start, like the way they set the movie up and it's really slow and you go through the ship. So good how
you don't see the alien till an hour in. So
exactly.
Yeah. And I don't think you see it that often. I don't think you just see it that often in the movie.
Not really, no.
You know what I mean? It's and that's what it was the same with, like, I thought that's what was amazing about Jaws as well. And I know that I think with Jaws it was because they just didn't really think that the shark was that incredible to look at. So you hardly see the shark in it, or Bruce or whatever it is they call him. And that only adds to the suspense of it, you know what I mean? You see the fin, then you hear the music, and you're like, oh God, what's going to happen? You know,
your imagination's worse than the actual visibility of it.
I mean, but I think that's what, you know, it is for filmmaking and stuff like that. It is sometimes you need people to sort of conjure up their own fears to get you know, before you show, because once you see it too many times, then you're like, oh yeah,
definitely,
that's what it is. Okay, let's get on. Oh wow, that was really gruesome, you know what I mean? Whereas
one of my favorite things about Alien as well is obviously the whole film, you concentrate on the alien, that's the enemy, that's the threat, but then Ash starts going a bit weird, you don't really pay much attention, and then when he gets hit with that extinguisher and everything goes everywhere, like I remember watching as a kid and I was terrified of that. I was like, wasn't expecting this at all, and that was another villain.
It's when you've got like the milk stuff coming out
spaghetti
of
and everything everywhere.
It's like blah, blah, blah. Oh man,
it's creepy.
Sticks with you.
We were talking about Alien. Obviously, it's a massive, like, I'm a massive fan of Alien because when we were younger, it's me and Nick are the brothers, and we have another brother, and I shared a room with him when I was kids. We were kids, and Nick had his own separate room because he was older. And one day, someone was coming to stay over, so Nick had to sleep in with us, and he brought his TV in. And he put his TV on at like the middle of the night, and Alien was playing on TV. And I woke up, and me and him watched it together, and I must have been eight years old or something. And that was it. I was hooked on it forever, and I've loved every single Aliens film since. I absolutely adore them.
Yeah. I think it's it'll be up there definitely as one of my top. See, you're gonna make me pick one. I know what I'm gonna pick, but now that we're talking about them, I'm gonna find it too. It's very difficult. Very difficult.
Well, while you think about that, we're just going to give you a quick quiz, if that's all right. It's just 10 questions, one on each film. See how much you know about your favourite film.
Okay.
So far, not to put any pressure, but so far Keith Lemon got 10 out of 10, and Andy Goldstein got 7 out of 10. So, as you're an actor as well, so maybe.
All right. Okay.
So number one is the Goonies. So what is the name of the Spanish-speaking house cleaner?
Oh God. Is it like no, it's going to get it wrong. Style or something like that.
It's Rosalita.
Rosalita. Right.
12 Angry Men. That's a good start. By what kind of knife is the victim stabbed?
12 Angry Men.
Is it like a pen knife of some kind or a bolt?
It's a switchblade, like a flick knife.
Switchblade, yeah. Well, a pen knife is what.
Yeah, close enough. Empire Strikes Back. What is the name of the creature on Hoth that attacks Luke?
Oh, I know this because I had the action figure of it. No, it's gone.
It's a Wampa.
Oh, I knew that too.
Indiana Jones. In which country is the Temple of Doom located?
It's in Pakistan, isn't it? Or India. India's, yeah. Panku, what was it? The name is Panku Palace or something, I think. I remember.
We'll let you have it. You got India second. Back to the Future 2. Which year is the movie set? The main part of the movie.
It was 2018, wasn't it? 2015.
2015. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shawshank Redemption. How long does Red serve in prison?
30. I'm going to say 35 years.
40 years.
40. Ah.
I think you get this one. In The Crow, what is Eric's band called?
His band is called. Oh crap! I only watched it the other day. It's gone.
It's Hangman Stroke. That one. In Batman Returns, what is the name of the criminal circus troupe?
Can't remember.
It's the Red Triangle Gang. In Ghostbusters, which Ghostbuster inadvertently chooses the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man as their destructor?
Ray Stans.
It is Ray. And in Alien, what is the name of the ship?
The Nostromo.
Nostromo, there you go. You saved yourself towards the end there.
What did I get? 5, was it?
5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. That's not too. It is hard, especially if you haven't watched them for a while. It's so tough.
That is bad. I watched the Goonies about a month ago. That was a tough.
Yeah, there were some tough questions in there, to be fair.
One thing I did notice when we were looking at your list is you're on your top 10 then, your most recent film was made in 1994. They were all made before 1994, apart from Crystal Skull, obviously. So was that when cinema peaked for you, or?
Possibly. Possibly. I don't. Yeah, I guess maybe. Yeah, I guess I was picking the movies that sort of I remember as a kid. You know what I mean?
Like there's definitely childhood ones.
Yeah, because I mean, there's definitely movies made after that I love. But it's funny because they're movies that I would have watched. I mean, to be fair, most of them I haven't watched in years, so I'm thinking about them as a kid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're ones that I would watch again.
Yeah.
Again. Whereas most movies now, and it's not that they're not good or anything like that. I see it once and I go, oh, that was a good film.
Yeah.
And then that'll be it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because there's so many things coming out nowadays, you know, that are trying to get one up on each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
You know, that I just sort of don't get a chance. And also, like, I've got kids now, so, and they're young, so at the minute, if I'm not working, then, you know, I'm at home being a dad, and you don't get a huge amount of time to sit down and watch a movie because you're so knackered at the end of the night. All you want to do is watch Taskmaster and go to bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know.
Should we get onto these shoes now then?
Yes, that you've been waiting for, mate.
I did well. I didn't look at them, so
you did, yeah.
This is the tiebreaker as well. I've won one and Nick's won one. So you.
Oh yeah, do it any way you want, really.
Just
pull them out, have a look, and then you just need to pick one that is your favourite.
Okay.
Sophie's choice.
No, Now, I wonder, are you guys going to make... Oh, yes. Oh, it's going to be tough. That is absolutely class.
It was tough to pick which films really from your list, to be honest. There's so many good ones on there.
Oh, I like the Ghostbusters one. Oh, yes. Oh, this is going to be tough.
we were huge Goonies still are huge Goonies and Ghostbusters fans, so we went all out.
And also, Nick's won one, and I've won one, so this is the tiebreaker. So this means a lot.
You can upset one of us.
No pressure.
This is a tough one. I'm gonna have to pick one, am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
I can't say they're both equally as nice.
Everyone said that so far. It's up to you, mate.
I'm gonna have to bite the bullet. Oh, it's so tough. This is a tough one.
We won't hold it against you. It's all right.
If you pick his, I'll let it.
I'm gonna go for the Ghostbuster one.
Good choice, Colin. Good choice, mate. It's Bill that did it. Bill tips it over the edge. Don't worry.
I actually think it was the Stay Puft.
Oh, the Stay Puft. Oh, nice.
On the front. I gotta be honest though, that's a very tough call. Very, very tough. They're both absolutely brilliant.
I have to admit, I do really like Rob's. We do them separately, completely separately, and then we show each other before we send them, so we don't see them until.
Oh, you do show each other.
Yeah, we show each other before they go, and I was a little bit worried with this one. I've got to be honest.
I was so cocky as well.
Oh, were you?
But you have been with all of them.
Yeah, I have been. Yeah, I was so confident.
It's a very. I mean, I'm not going to lie. That was a very tough. I just had to bite the bullet, and that was a very, very tough call. Which would you guys pick? I mean,
I pick Goonies, me personally.
Yeah, I do really like the Goonies ones, Robs, but I would pick mine. I prefer mine.
I think they're some of the best ones we've done. Them, to be honest, I do like them.
They're absolutely fantastic. I have to say, really, really good.
Thank you.
So that was a very, very difficult decision. You know.
Yeah.
I think you made the right decision.
He's properly, genuinely gutted. I can tell. I can see
it. We're like this with everything. It's not just the shoes. We're always arguing about something.
I can tell he was completely like, I am absolutely gonna smash this one. I am.
Do you know the worst part is as well, obviously my girlfriend, my partner is such a massive fan of you, and she's been messaging me like excited all day, and I'm going to message her, but like, yeah, it wasn't that good. It was.
I've gone off Colin now.
Oh, actually, well, no, I'll tell you what, I'm going to change my mind now.
It's too late. It's too late.
I'm gonna pick the Goonies one now.
I'll edit that in.
Yeah, I've stopped recording. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, I do.
Now I feel bad.
Don't feel bad at all, honestly.
No. We knew it was going to be like this when we decided to
I'll just win the next one. It's no big deal.
I have to say, they're both absolutely brilliant, though. They are absolutely brilliant.
Thank you, mate. We're glad you like them.
Thank you very much.
They're amazing. Amazing. Oh no, I'm gonna change my mind because your girlfriend's such a fan. I'm picking the Goonies one. Tough.
Not accepting that.
I'm not accepting that. Thank you for doing the podcast as well, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on, Colin.
Guys, thanks for having me. And sorry I did so bad at the quiz. I feel gutted now. But
I did it on Rob before to test it, and he got 3. So you actually beat Rob. So that makes you feel any better.
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed I didn't get I should have remembered Eric Draven's band and stuff like that. But it was a bit disappointing. Anyway, I'll go and cry into my Goonies Goonies nightmare, Jordan.
I do.
It's a nice consolation.
But look, lads, thanks a million. Yeah, it was good to talk to you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
It's been a good reason for putting a shirt on and a pair of jeans.
Good excuse.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast with Colin O'Donoghue. We know you've all been waiting to hear the winner of the competition for the subscribers to win a pair of your own Geeky Blinders customs. Nick's going to pick a winner now using wheelofnames.com. Over to you, Nick.
Thank you very much, mate. I'll press spin on my phone. It's exciting stuff.
I'm nervous.
Yeah. And the winner is Luke
LV. I hope I pronounced that right. ELVEY. Luke LV.
So yeah, go on.
Yeah, send us a DM, and we'll sort out your Geeky Blinders custom shoes, mate. If we don't hear from you in the next couple of days, then we'll give you a shout, obviously, as well.
Ideal. Thank you very much. Right, I'll speak to you later, Nick.
See you later, Rob. Thank you very much, everyone.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.